من طين وأصلي وأسلم على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله تعالى وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم ألا وإن كل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. I bear witness that there is none worthy of our worship except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is the seal of the prophets and the final messenger to all of humanity. Whoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides, there is none to misguide, and whoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala leaves to stray, there is none to guide aright. وبعد يقول الله تعالى في كتابه الكريم وأصدق القائلين أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. وبعد, I witness that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is our only Lord and Creator and Provider, and Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is the seal of the prophets. Only 2 weeks are left for the month of Ramadan. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it easy for us, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. This khutbah is relevant to the month of Ramadan. So by just listening to the first 15 minutes of the khutbah, you feel like it has nothing to do with the month, but it really does. And I explain at the end, inshallah ta'ala. Today I know is a Good Friday. All our Fridays, all our Jum'ahs are good, alhamdulillah ta'ala. So we're grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this. And as I can see, more than half of our audience today are youth. And by this I mean 75 and below. So I will try to make the khutbah relevant to them, and I'll be using stories, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, so to make it informative and entertaining at the same time, so they don't run away. I'm going to begin with a short story of 2 frogs. It's a famous story, and the title for this khutbah is Yes, We Can't, right? So the story goes something like this. They say that there were 2 frogs. One of them was small, the other one was big. I grew up on a farm, and we had a lot of frogs back then. So basically, these 2 frogs were hopping around in the farm looking for food. Eventually, they sneaked into a little house, and they started jumping around, and eventually they landed into a pot of milk. So now, mushkila kabira, big problem. After 10-15 minutes of swimming and paddling in the milk, the big one gave up and told the small one, "We're wasting our time. Just save your time and energy. We're dying anyway. We're doomed. Stop swimming and paddling and die in peace." So the small one said, "No, I have to keep trying. I'm not going to give up. We need to keep swimming and paddling." The big one started to make fun of the small one. "No one is coming to save us. We're doomed. We will die. Just stop swimming and paddling." The small one persisted and said, "No, I have to keep swimming and paddling in the milk." So eventually the big one drowned while making fun of the small one. The small one didn't give up. It kept paddling and swimming in the milk. 1 hour passed by, 2 hours passed by, and eventually the milk turned into butter, and then the small one was able to jump out of the milk. So now, in my village, many years ago, I saw my mom stirring the milk for a long time with the movement, and after some time you get sour cream, and after some time you get butter, and eventually you can get cheese with the stirring. So the moral of the story, don't give up. Don't let anybody make you feel like you're nobody. Never give up. And our Islamic history is filled with stories that talk about some of the Sahaba who never gave up. And also in the Quran there are stories and so on and so forth, because I understand some of our kids who go to school, maybe they will speak their mind and say, "Well, one day I want to become a doctor. I want to become the next Prime Minister of Canada." Or, "A'udhu billah, I want to become an imam," right? And people make fun of you and say, "Well, first of all, your math sucks. Your science is in the basement. What does this have to do with being an imam or a politician," right? They don't know nothing, and still they become imams and they become politicians and so on and so forth. You have to believe in yourself, or nobody else will, right? So never give up, and this is the point of the khutbah today. If you look at the story of David and Goliath, Dawood alayhi salam wa Jalut. So Dawood was a young man and Goliath was a big man, like Hercules, with big muscles, and he was a hero. And they fought, and eventually nobody could have believed that a young man like Dawood alayhi salam could beat Goliath. And eventually Dawood alayhi salam beat him and he became the king. Right? Also the story of Noah's Ark and the Titanic. Right? You read in the Quran in Surah Hud, the people of Noah alayhi salam were making fun of him. And they said, first of all, who would build an ark or a ship in the desert? You lost your mind. Right? They said. And they said, number two, look at the people who are working with you. They're all beginners. They never built a boat before. Even if there is a flood, as you claim, your ship that is built of planks of wood and nails, and this is what Allah calls it in Surah Qamar. وَحَمَلْنَاهُ عَلَى ذَاتِ أَلْوَاحٍ وَدُسُرٍ. Just planks of wood and nails. This would never survive the flood. And eventually the flood came, the ship survived, because even if it was built by beginners, and the Titanic, which was built by the biggest professionals of the time, sank. You never know. So you have to trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and work hard and in your ability to do things. If you look at the story of Abraha and أَلَمْ تَرَ كَيْفَ فَعَلَ رَبُّكَ بِأَصْحَابِ الْفِيلِ, who would believe that an army of strong, mighty men with elephants would be crushed by little birds and stones? This is like, subhanAllah, but if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants something to happen, it will happen. This is qadarullah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now one of the most amazing stories, and I personally love this story so much, and I can relate to this story. This is the story of Abdullah ibn Abbas, and the story is mentioned in the books of Tafsir and also in the books of Hadith and so on and so forth. So Abdullah ibn Abbas was a young man, 7 years old, around this age. And there are hadith that talk about his interaction with the Prophet ﷺ. So he was a young man. Hadith, Ya ghulam, ihfadillah yahfadk. You know the hadith. And the Prophet ﷺ saw a potential in him. And he made dua for him. He said, Ya Allah, bless him with knowledge and hikmah, with wisdom, ilm and hikmah. So when the Prophet ﷺ passed away, Abdullah ibn Abbas asked a man from Medina who was a bit older, and he said, Ammu, let's go and collect the knowledge of Muhammad ﷺ. Learn from the Sahaba, so in the future we can share this knowledge with the rest of the Sahaba and the generations to come. And the man said, who are you? Who are you? Do you think the Ummah will need someone like you? They will need your knowledge, a little boy like you? So he made fun of him and he didn't go with him. But Abdullah ibn Abbas, he never gave up. He went from one house to another. He visited the Sahaba in their homes to learn from them the hadith and what the Prophet ﷺ said in tafsir about certain ayat in the Quran. And now, subhanAllah, all the books of hadith and tafsir, they are filled with the sayings of Abdullah ibn Abbas. You read al-Tabari, Ibn Kathir, Qurtubi, the first thing they say, قال ibn Abbas, قال ibn Abbas, قال ibn Abbas. So after 10-15 years, all the Sahaba came to learn from Abdullah ibn Abbas. Hundreds and thousands of them came to learn from him. Umar radiallahu anhu would ask him, he made him a consultant, mustashar, to ask him about so many things. He would even include him with the people of Badr, to sit with them, to honor him, although he was still young, like a youth. And the people of Badr, they were old, senior citizens, but he also included them because of his knowledge and hikmah. Eventually this man, who made fun of him, who refused to seek knowledge with him, and he said, Abdullah ibn Abbas was right, I was wrong. He was more intelligent than me. And Abdullah ibn Abbas, as I said, he never gave up. He said he would visit people in their homes. Some days were sunny, some days were windy and dusty, and he would sit in front of someone's house waiting for them to come out and ask them until he was covered with dust. But he never gave up, and eventually he paid back and he became one of the biggest scholars of Islam. You read in Surah Al-Mujadila, ayat 20 and 21, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يُحَادُّونَ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ أُولَٰئِكَ فِي الْأَذَلِّينَ كَتَبَ اللَّهُ لَأَغْلِبَنَّ أَنَا وَرُسُلِي إِنَّ اللَّهَ قَوِيٌّ عَزِيزٌ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Mujadila, ayat 20 and 21, He said, those who challenge Allah will be put to shame. Allah has decreed long ago that I and my prophets will succeed. Right? So this is mentioned in Surah Mujadala. They say the reason why these two ayat were revealed, when the Sahaba beat the people of Mecca in Badr and other occasions. So they said, now they have big expectations that one day they will beat the Roman Empire and the Persian Empire. And the Munafiqun started to make fun of them. Aapke saath koi mushkil hai? Who are you? Do you think Rome and Persia will be like the miskeen people you fought in your backyard in Badr and Uhud? What is that? You lost your mind? We're not talking about a few hundred miskeen people you fought from Mecca. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of the most sophisticated soldiers of all time, Persia and Rome. And subhanAllah, in less than a century, Muslims didn't only beat Rome and Persia, they went all the way to China, they went all the way to Turkey, they went all the way to Spain, Al-Andalus, and they went to most of North Africa, the top half of Africa belonged to the Muslim Ummah, right? Because someone tried to put them down, make fun of them, and they didn't know that Allah was on their side. And that's all that matters at the end of the day. If you work hard, you put your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if Allah is on your side, it doesn't matter who's against you. But if Allah is against you, it doesn't matter who is standing behind you. So this is something we need to keep in mind. A few modern stories to highlight this concept. This guy, about 45 years ago, he was in the US, he was probably 7, 8 years old. His teacher, she was racist, basically, he's African American. And the teacher asked the students in the school, in the classroom, what would you like to be? So she asked the students one by one. So the first few white students, they stood up. I want to be, a doctor. Oh, takbir. She clapped and she put a star on his forehead. The second one, I want to be an engineer. Oh, takbir. And another star. Then came his turn and she said, okay, what would you like to be? And this guy, he stuttered when he was young. He couldn't speak smoothly. He stuttered, right? What would you like to be? And he said, I want to be on TV. She started to make fun of him. She called him in front of the class and she said, you're an idiot. Has your dad ever been on TV? He said, no. Your mom? No. Anyone in your family? No. She said, if no one from your family has ever been on TV, no one from your neighborhood has ever been on TV, and you can't even talk, how dare you think this way, right? So eventually this guy, he became one of the most famous TV personalities of all time. And he said on an interview on YouTube that every year, wallahi, he said, every year I make sure I send an expensive LCD screen to my teacher, she's still alive, so she can watch me on TV. The Steve Harvey Show, one of the biggest and most famous of all time. He never gave up. He didn't quit his dreams because of what his teacher said about him. Some other modern stories, you probably heard of Walt Disney. He's one of the most famous cartoon makers of all time. He was fired from his first job because he said he was not creative enough. They didn't like him. And you hear a story like Muhammad Salah. He tried to join some soccer clubs, local soccer clubs, miskin clubs in Egypt, and they said, he is nothing, he's nobody, he's not creative, he has no skills, and he doesn't deserve to wear our shirt. This week, you see him on the cover of the Time magazine as one of the top players of the world, right? So they tried to put him down, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him the skill. And he is a good human being. I'm not talking only about him as a good player, but he is a good man. He does a lot of charity work. He's building Azhar institutes in his town to help people and give sadaqah, So he is paying back for the blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him. This is also another story of Rachel Beckwith, an American girl. So basically, back in 2011, she was 9 years old, and she told her family, I don't want you to buy me, gifts like cake and dresses and all that stuff. Just collect all the money that you wanted to give me, and we will send this money to Africa to provide clean water to, a town or something in Africa. Before she could achieve her dream, she died in a car accident in 2011, and she was only 9 years old. Her mom and her sister were in the car. They escaped with minor injuries, but she died in the car accident. And the word got out and people heard about her story. And instead of sending $300 to Africa, that was all the money she was getting in 2011, people raised around close to $1.5 million, and the money was sent to Africa to build wells in many villages in Africa. And she's just one girl, one little girl with a dream. But this is what I call the power of one. When Muhammad started, he was one man and the whole world was against him. Now he has a followership of 1.7 billion people in this world. You think of Sidi Omar al-Mukhtar, you think of Muhammad al-Fatih and the great personalities and so on and so forth. One man, the whole world is against him, and eventually Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give them support through followers and so on and so forth. Now, why am I telling you these stories? It's because they have something to do with Ramadan. About 2 months ago, I made an announcement in Jum'ah, and I said, I have good news, and the good news is Ramadan will be coming in 2 months. And some people, I can see the faces. You guys, you don't see each other because the only thing you see is hair, a bunch of hair in front of you, unless someone is bald or something. So basically, half of the Jamaat, they freaked out. They said, oh my goodness. Then after a month, I said 1 month left, and they freaked out again. We're not going to go to this masjid again because this guy gives us bad news all the time, right? But the point is, this is an amazing time to get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This should be good news. No one should freak out. And shaitan will play with your head. As we say in Urdu, shaitan bahut common hai. Shaitan is very smart. He will play games with you. You will die. 17 hours of fasting. 22 rak'ah, if you follow the Hanafi madhab. 22 rak'ah, or Maliki madhab. 36 rak'ahs. Oh my goodness, we will die. And you have to go to work in the morning, you have to get the kids ready for school. You can't do this. Shaitan makes it seem like impossible for you. And the best response for these tactics, shaitan tactics, how many Ramadans have you fasted anyway? In my case, I have done like 30 so far, and nothing happened. All the hardship, all the sleepless nights, and all the waking up in the morning are gone. I don't remember anything. Right? I forgot everything. Surah Nuka, alhamdulillah, it's behind me. The hardship, the challenges are behind me. But the reward, inshallah, is ahead of us in Jannah, inshallah ta'ala. So this is the attitude you should have when you receive the month of Ramadan. We can do it, inshallah, we'll be successful, we'll get the reward, and we'll be looking up to the next Ramadan, inshallah. They freak out again. So alhamdulillah, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the best in this life and the best in the life to come. Bismillah al-Tawfiq. Alhamdulillah.